Welcome back into the studio for this month's 12 and 12 for 30. If you are inspired to create something after watching this, please share it on social media and use the hashtag 12 in 12 for 30. So I already have my page gessoed and some tape going down the center seam, and now I'm going to start off with some decoupaging. And this is where you'll see my fatal mistake happened. I'm using some used coffee filters. These are natural cone shaped coffee filters, and I kind of hoard them. And so I am decoupaging with those. I really like the way that coffee filters are thin, yet they are very strong and give wonderful texture. Plus, when you have that dried coffee on them, oh, you get some lovely colors coming out. So I am going to cover this whole page in decoupage this entire page with coffee filters. And as you can see, I cut out a great deal of it because it took me a very long time to decoupage. I don't know if I was just jamming to my music and not really, I just was in the zone and not paying attention. So that's where, that's where it happened. Now I have pulled out some gesso, and I'm going to cover the entire page with gesso, and then I am going to use a stencil to pull back. And what ends up peeking through when you do that is, plus look at the bottom left, like that gesso really caught a lot of that texture really beautifully. Well, really throughout the whole thing. So then I'm going to use this joggle stencil. This is a St. Hilaire stencil, Peas in Pod. And I'm just going to wipe that back with the baby wipe and pull back some of that wonderful browns that I got from the coffee filters. And the bonus of that is that I get this wonderful patterning going on, and I get to get some of the gesso on some of the texture, so it's really popping out and showing up, which is, wonderful.
Tonight I'll reach out and touch the sky. In the city of angels, feels like I'm coming home. With my head up in the clouds, I am searching for something, and I'm still hoping. 'Cause I wanna be in, not out, wanna make this all count. Yes, I wanna go crazy.
Now this product I've pulled out is the Marabou Mousse, and this is in the vanilla, and you've seen me use this before if you've been around my channel. And if you haven't been around my channel, well, where you been? Come subscribe, stick around, we'd love to have you. This product has actually been discontinued, although I have hoarded it over the years. Well, not over the years, but recently, and I do have it in my store. But it is like a texture medium, but it's much finer. Like I use the Liquitex coarse texture gel. This is like that, very similar, except for it has color to it. And the other thing is that it's much finer. It's very smooth. I can put it on with my finger. It is very soft, but it gives you this really lovely texture. So anyways, I'm getting that applied to all my open gaps because those white spaces where I did not decoupage were just really catching my attention, and I didn't want those to be catching my attention. So I'm pushing it back with some of this Marabou Mousse. So I took a look at my clock ticking away there and was like, oh, 10 minutes. How in the heck am I going to get this done in 10 minutes? And the pressure was really great, but I decided, you know, like in an instant, I'm just like going to plug forward with whatever feels right next. And so whatever felt right next for me at the moment was to decoupage again. But this time I took some tea and coffee stained handwritten papers and just kind of cut them or tore them by hand into semicircular type shape, and then got those decoupaged down in areas where the large circles were on my page. And got that dried down in 7 minutes. So I decided to go in with a glaze, and so I am using glazing medium along with some of the Lukas Indigo. This is a gorgeous indigo. I love Lukas's indigo, and I actually hardly put any paint in there. It's mostly glazing medium, and it's winter. It doesn't dry that fast here, although this is it's a dry winter for us, but not like our summers are. And I just wanted to be able to pull it up if I didn't like what I was doing with it. And so I wanted to have that option. Plus I wanted it to have like a glaze, so it gives it more transparency. So that was my goal by using, or why I used the glazing medium. And here I ended up pulling it back because I was going to go lighter, and then it was a mid-tone, and I really wanted it to be darker and on the other end of the value scale. And I wanted to see the paper that I had just put down. So that's what prompted me to go in and pull up some of that. And then, of course, coming back in and catching some of that texture with that glaze. And I come back here and do a little bit of darker shadowing because I felt like I went back a little too far with the glaze and took it back too close to medium again. So I do go back in here and do some shadowing around these circular shapes and try and leave it as concentrated color as possible. So out of time, here's my final piece. Nah, it's not done. Moving on. So now I'm going to take some of my Ken Oliver liquid watercolors. This is Merlot. It is a gorgeous color. I wasn't quite sure how it was going to react on the surface of this, but I was pleasantly surprised. So I just kind of did some really loose circular shape motions around each of these shapes, and then went in with that watercolor over that vanilla mousse, and was very pleasantly surprised to see how gorgeous it reacted with that texture. And so I did on the side of this round brush, and a lot of water added to this concentrate, and I just moved that around in those areas and just kind of feathered it out into the center areas and tried not to mess with the free motion that I did around the circular shapes. You'll see I do come back in with some, in the end, I do come back in with some Blick fixative to help make that watercolor less reactive. I do always cover all my journal pages with cold wax medium because I don't want them sticking, and I like to anything that is water soluble or reactive kind of eliminates that from happening too much. Now this is a fine liner that I have filled with titanium white acrylic paint and airbrush medium, and I am just using some asemic writing around one edge of this circular. Now I realize that I run the risk of having it reignite that Merlot watercolor, but I feel like I'm not really worried about it if they integrate a little bit, because it's just to catch your eye and kind of keep you moving around those shapes. So that was a long process of trying to find just the right words to go on this page. And I originally was going to just cut those the ends down and crop it in a little bit, but I pulled out my Crop-a-dile and decided to put some eyelets in here. I'm glad I did. I really liked the way it ended up looking, even though I didn't string anything through them. And these are some really large eyelets that I used. And then I was like, okay, well, it needs something else, you know. And I did go with a cream thread, as you'll see here in just a moment.
I found a star in you. Always guiding me to where my words are true. I've waited a million years before, and I do it all again just to make sure. Yeah, it's hard to be this real. We can play our favorite song, dancing to it all night long. With you I feel something, 'cause we're both so unashamed. We're not playing any games. Yeah, it's hard to be this real. We can play our favorite song, dancing to it all night long.
If you've liked what you've seen, please give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more from me, go ahead and click on the subscribe button if you haven't already. Listed below in my description box is all the supplies that I've used on this piece. Links are listed to my Etsy store or an affiliate link, but I only link to products that I have used, tested, or that I prefer to use. I may receive a small compensation, but there is never any additional cost to you. By using these links, you help me put supplies on my art table and keep my channel content coming. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed.